Hi everyone, Dale Norman here with Theologians Think, and welcome to session video number 2, where we're looking at the sequence of events that people say will happen during the end times. Will there really be a period of 7 years known as the tribulation? I'm going to break this down into 3 sections today. It is interesting. I've spoken to a lot of Christians who just assume this to be true, but they probably couldn't tell you why they believe that or which Bible verses sort of promote that. I just wonder, has it changed or has it become something that is just accepted by everyone and everyone sort of doesn't dig deeper and think critically for themselves? So let's look first of all in Daniel chapter 9, which has to be the mother text for this teaching. First of all, in the Old Testament, the Jewish people were in Babylon, in the Babylonian exile, and God promised that He would bring them back to the land of Israel to restore the land and rebuild the temple. So that's the Second Temple period leading up to the time of Christ. And then the angel Gabriel said that there would be a 70-week period. And then the 70 weeks are subdivided into 3 sections. First one, 7 sevens, 62 sevens, and 1 7. Now, the best way to think of this, it can be confusing, is that sometimes you'll see 77s and sometimes you'll see 70 weeks. Basically, they mean the same thing. You know, you have 7 days in a week. A week is 7. So what we're dealing with here is 70 weeks. So we have the 3 subdivisions, the 7 weeks, the 62 weeks, and then the 1 week. But then we have a 7 assigned to each one of those subdivisions. So I know it sounds complicated and very mathematical, but basically you have the first 7. 7 sevens are 49. Then you have the 62 weeks. 62 times 7 is 434. And then obviously 1 times 7 is 7. And then if we assign the days as a year principle, we can then add it to those. So we now have 49 years, 437 years, and then 7 years. And then in prophecy, usually a day refers to a year. We can see that in so in Ezekiel chapter 4 verse 5 it says, I have assigned you the same number of days as the years of their sin. There's the magic number right there. We've seemed to have found our 7 years. Now, what does this have to do with the end times, and how have people connected this 7 years into the end times? Well, what seems to have happened is that if we go from the beginning of this prophecy, which is this decree in verse 24, decree to rebuild Jerusalem begins at 457 BC. Then, if we add the 49 years and the 434 years, that takes us to AD 27. And it says here that from that time the word goes out to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed one, the ruler, comes. There will be 77s and 62 sevens. The anointed one is Jesus Christ, and it's capitalized as well. So that prophecy takes us all the way up to Jesus Christ, and when Jesus Christ was anointed at his baptism in 27 AD. And then basically the last 7 years refers to the time of Jesus Christ. So from AD 27 all the way up to AD 34, which is the life and the most important moments of Jesus Christ's ministry. And, it says he will confirm the covenant with many for 1 7. Jesus confirmed the covenant, the new covenant in the New Testament. In the middle of the 7 years, he will put an end to the sacrifice and offerings. And that's exactly what Jesus did on the cross. He was the final sacrifice, a final atonement for sin. And because of his sacrifice, there was no need to present animal sacrifices in the temple anymore. Now, we'll look at in the next episode how many people assert this prophecy to the Antichrist, but when you read it, there is no indication that the Antichrist is mentioned. But we're dealing with the 7 years of tribulation today, and the only way to make those 7 years go into the end times, and this is what people have done, is that they say that this clock on the prophecy sort of magically stops or mysteriously stops after the 62nd week. And for whatever reason, they've placed this gap and disconnected those 7 weeks from those other two subdivisions and then taken it right into the end times. But the whole 490 year prophecy, and by the way, that's what we're dealing with, is 490 years, is one connection. It is one straightforward timeline, and there is just no logical reason to disconnect these last 7 years. But again, the whole 7 year of tribulation seems or does come from Daniel 9. But when you read it, those last 7 years happened within the lifetime of Jesus. And if you look at Protestant scholars, nearly all of them um, connected those 7 years with the life of Christ. They did not interpret it as an end time disconnected week. So that's where the idea and the foundation of the 7 years of tribulation comes from. And then, of course, within those 7 years, this so called 7 year of tribulation, um, is an expected timetable concerning the Antichrist. Again, we'll look at that when we come to the Antichrist, but it's just worth saying that many people have sort of predicted what is going to happen in this 7 years. And so, after the rapture, when the Christians have gone, that is what triggers the 7 year of tribulation. And all of the end time left behind sort of novels, they just sort of chronicle this 7 year period. But to me, given the fact that the foundation of it is on shaky ground, that people have to place this mystery gap in order to create this 7 years, tells me that it is not correct interpretation, that this idea of a 7 year tribulation is not true biblical teaching. This was an idea that was added in much later with the dispensational view, with John Nelson Darby and the rapture and all of those sort of 1700 end time dispensational ideas. Now, I want to, it could be easy for me just to stop there, but I do want to bring forth a couple more arguments that people throw into the mix.